It's a pleasure to introduce Arthur Milton Porter III, and it's a pleasure to have Arthur with us because of his unique perspective on preparing for growth, which is really something what we're here for today. Arthur is the VP of Marks & Associates, responsible for being a business enterprise builder, which includes various renewal and training efforts at BJC, WashU, among others. Arthur is also the CEO of Kingdom Associates, specializing in international and domestic leadership training. I like to look at it as adapting to the passing it on philosophy. In addition to all that, Arthur is a founding member of the Johnson Maxwell team and a certified coach, teacher, and speaker on growth, leadership, and personal development. Please join me in welcoming Arthur to the stage.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm so honored to be among entrepreneurs today. If anybody knows me, how many people I've seen, well, look in the audience and see people I know from so many different venues, be it BJC, be it WashU. And it's just good to see you all here. One of the things, if you look around, you'll notice that a lot of us have been around for a long time. So when we talk about growing and success, I think it's a mark that you all are already on the process of growth and success that you're even here. So let's give a round of applause to the entrepreneurs in the room. As I mentioned, I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been that for 25 years, and I love entrepreneurship. I'm from a family of entrepreneurs. My wife, Anika, has Fitness with Anika. My sister, Sandra Marks, has Marks & Associates. So for the last 25 years, I've been involved in entrepreneurship. And I know entrepreneurs. And so when you see the opportunities that are presented here today, I know that you get excited because that's just the nature of an entrepreneur. So how many people are excited about growing with Monsanto? Are there CEOs in this room? How many people, I'm going to try it again, I'm going to try it with this side. How many people over here are excited about growing with Monsanto? There we go, there we go. Now these people might get all the contracts. How many people over here are excited about growing with Monsanto? There we go, there we go. I'm in the right place. Now, I speak in a lot of places, and when I speak to people that are non-entrepreneurial, it really is hard because you're constantly trying to pull them into the conversation. But an entrepreneur, here's an opportunity, gets excited, and they're prepared and they're ready to go. So I'm going to talk to you today about growing with Monsanto. And there are 4 key components of growth I'm going to talk about today. Of course, there are many more, but I'm just going to touch on these 4. Relationships, performance, attitude, and leadership. Those are 4 areas you want to focus on as you look at growing. Let's start off with relationships. Everybody say relationships. There was a research study done in Stanford that stated that 87% of success is driven by people knowledge, only 13% by product knowledge. So just think about that for a second. If I'm selling widgets, Company A, and Company B is selling widgets, the widgets are probably going to be very comparable. As a matter of fact, my first job out of college was in pharmaceutical sales. And I had a product that was good for ulcers. My competitor had a product that was just as good for ulcers. So either product you chose, your ulcer was going to be cured. What they taught us and trained us in pharmaceutical sales was the difference is going to be the salesperson. The difference is the relationship. So if you have a better relationship, people are going to do business with you. Now, when you look at relationships, especially business relationships, you want to really understand what is a good, effective business relationship. It's not just giving somebody a business card and saying that we have a relationship. No, they just have your card. A relationship, a good, effective business relationship, actually goes through 4 different stages. The first stage is awareness. And everybody in this room everybody starts off that stage, but some of you all are at that stage right now. Monsanto is aware that you're in business, and so they invited you to this event, okay? That's just the first stage. You don't want to stay there. The second stage is knowledge. And that's what you're going to be going through when you fill out your pre-qualification forms, when you submit information to Monsanto. they're going to now have more knowledge about what you actually do. So it goes from just knowing that Arthur Porter's in business to actually see this is what he does. These are some of his past clients. These are some of the successes he's had so far. The knowledge stage, very, very important. So when they talk about getting pre-qualified, sending in information, you want to really make sure you do that. The third stage takes you from knowledge to actually where they may like you. Now, you have to be careful here because at that stage, they've actually know who you are, know what you do, and they've decided to give you an opportunity, okay? When you get that opportunity, this is your time to shine. We'll talk about this a little bit later on in another slide, but know this. If you perform well, you'll go into what they call the liking phase. And in the liking phase, they like working with you. And how many people know people do business with people that they like? They like you, so given a chance to do business with you again in the future, they will do business with you because you're in that liking phase. And most people kind of stay there. But there's a fourth stage that's rarely met, and that stage is trusting. When you get to the trusting phase, not only do they like doing business with you, but they begin to value you as a strategic partner, somebody they're willing to get involved at the very beginning of a concept, maybe in the planning phase of it, okay? Now, how do you get to that? You get to that by continuing to grow your relationships. Now, eventually getting to that liking stage, okay? And I was going to do that myself, but I decided to put it on the slide. But when you're in the liking phase, right, performance is key. I tell people all the time, the biggest mistake you can make is to take a project and not be successful. Matter of fact, a lot of the successful companies I've seen will take small projects, perform very well before they take on anything else. So when you get to this performance, this is a great quote from a business leader and expert in business, Mae West. She said that an ounce of performance is worth pounds of promises. How many times have people promised you that they're going to do a good job, promised you're going to do something, and they just didn't deliver? It left a bad taste in your mouth, right? And it kind of made you skeptical about doing business with them after that. So you want to make sure before you bid on things, I always tell people, start where you are. Start where you are. So if you know that you're only capable of bidding on this size project, bid on this size project. You don't want to win this project if you can only do this much, okay? So start where you are. Part of that performance phase, you also want to start to really step back from your business, and instead of working in it, start working on it. And say, how can I grow and improve my performance? And you want to do that by taking a critical look at every area of your operations. You want to look at your customer service. You want to look at your supply chain. You want to look at how your actual performance from your labor. You want to look at what can you do to improve each one of those phases, your financials, okay? And again, be very critical. Look and see, what can I do to grow in those areas? Now, we mentioned relationships. One of the things you have to realize, although we're looking at growing with Monsanto, Monsanto is made up of people. Some of them are self-prescribed nerds. But we're going to go, you want to have relationships with these people. A lot of times people say, I'm doing business with Monsanto. Are you doing business with Monsanto, or are you doing business with a person that's representing Monsanto? So part of your relationship, as you start to grow, you start to analyze your performance, is having a good enough relationship to say, hey, Monsanto, I just added 2 new people in my order processing department, and now our supplies are going to be coming much quicker. So again, you're constantly letting them know with this relationship how your performance is going to be better, okay? Don't despise small beginnings. This project, look at some of these numbers, can be daunting. Matter of fact, it may be so daunting that some people say, I'm not going to bid. But I suggest that you just bid on what you can do and grow from there. The next thing that's very, very important is your attitude. Zig Ziglar has a great quote on this. Your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Okay? Attitude is very, very key. We just said that people like to do business with people that they like. Okay? So there are 4 different types of people. And don't raise your hand as I go through them. But the first person, we'll call him Andy. And Andy is an adder. When you walk in the room and you see Andy, you just get excited. You feel energized because you see Andy. Andy's positive. He adds value to you, okay? That's the type of person you want to be. There's another person, though, we'll call her Sally, that's a subtractor. when you see Sally, oh my God, you know she's going to be negative. You know she's going to bring you down. Matter of fact, as you come in, you hope that she doesn't see you. But you don't want to be Sally, okay? The third person we'll say is Mark, the multiplier. And what Mark does is he not only adds value to you, but he also multiplies you. How does he do that? He's giving you resources. He's sharing his network with you. He's helping you to grow. So he's a person that multiplies other people. That's where you want to be. And then the last person you want to absolutely run from is David the divider. Because David not only is negative, but he's so negative that he not only talks about how it's not going to work for you and your organization, how it's never going to happen, but he actually starts to get into your mindset. And he divides your potential to work because now you've got David, okay? So if you look around, we know each other. Don't say anything, but if you see a Mark, if you see an Andy, if you see a David or divider or Sally, just make sure that you are not that particular type of person, okay? Then you want to look at leadership. And this is something that as small businesses we normally kind of overlook. But John Maxwell, who again, I'm a certified trainer, coach, speaker for John Maxwell, and John Maxwell is the guru of leadership. If anybody has ever read the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, anybody here familiar with John Maxwell's material? He's a guru on leadership. But this is the first law in the 21 Laws of Leadership. And it basically states that your leadership ability, for better or for worse, always determines your effectiveness and the potential impact of your organization. So you will never grow your company until you grow yourself. So you look at, let's say your leadership level, and this is actually called the law of the lid. So let's say your leadership level is at a 5, okay? Then that means that your organization or your company will never go above a 5. It could be a 4, it could be a 3, but it won't go above a 5 until you raise your leadership level. 2 things you need to note. One is you can actually find out what is your lid. What is my level of leadership? During the network, if you get with me, there's a place you can go and you can go in and take a test to kind of determine what's your current lid. The second thing you need to know is that luckily for everybody, leadership is governed by laws. So for example, the law of gravity, if I was to drop this, it's going to fall. If you were to drop this, it would fall. If you were to drop this, it would fall. Because it's a law, it's going to work for everybody. So once you learn the laws of leadership, they will work for you, okay? If you don't learn the laws of leadership, they may work against you. So I strongly suggest that everybody start looking at leadership development. Because again, as the owner, if you don't grow, your company's not going to grow. I just recently read an article that stated that successful firms have a culture of leadership development, not just at the top, but throughout the whole organization. I heard Monsanto talking about in different communities how they train leaders to be employees. Think of the benefit of that. You could be a leader that was leading a group of followers and you could be somewhat effective. But suppose you were a leader. Just imagine your organization, if you increased your leadership level, and then you increase the leadership level of all of your employees. And can you imagine being a leader, leading a group of leaders, how much more effective you would be? So again, when you look at leadership, look at yourself, but then also look at how you can use that in your organization. The next one is the first challenge I have for you all today. And that challenge is for you to dream. This is a quote from T. Lawrence. And T. Lawrence states that all men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind wake in the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men. And that's what entrepreneurs are, dreamers of the day. Because they may act on their dreams with open eyes to make them possible. And again, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. And it's no secret, there have been meetings like this for the 25 years that I've been in business. But I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of you all can attest to this, that there's been a shift. There has been a change in the way that this diversity thing is being handled. A lot of you know on other projects is not just window dressing, it is very, very serious. And Monsanto is very, very serious about it, okay? But if you think about when you start your business to now, a lot is taking place. Matter of fact, think back in your mind. I want you to think back to when you first decided to start your business. You could have been driving in the car, and all of a sudden pass up and say, man, that's a great idea. I'm going to start a business. Your eyes wide open, full of excitement, full of opportunity. You could have got a pink slip and said, you're fired, you're terminated. Eyes wide open from that. Okay, I got to start a business. But something, each one of us in here, there was some point when we decided that we were going to go into business for yourself. And if you think back to that moment, that was probably when you were the most excited and enthused about business. But then what happened? Life happened, business happened. You actually started to go out, and you started off with this dream, this vision that you're going to have 20 employees and 3 locations, and you're going to conquer the world and have X amount of revenue in 2 years. But as you go out there, you don't hit those milestones. You did have 20 employees, but you had to let 3 of them go because of issues they had. Things just start to happen. And if you're not careful, you'll lose the luster of the dream. And all of a sudden now, you're not as excited. I often relate it to, how many people here have children? Okay. Everybody remembers, and I equate businesses often to being your baby. How many entrepreneur CEOs will say that their business is their baby? Anybody? It's your baby. It's like it's an integral part of you. It really means a lot to you. And if you think back when you had that baby, and that baby was first born, what was it? It was the cutest baby ever. There was never any baby that looked better than this. If you went to work that next day, what'd you have? About 30 pictures of this baby. Oh, this baby is so beautiful. And you have nothing but optimism about this baby's life. This baby's going to be a brain surgeon, and this baby's going to also be an attorney. Okay? But then what happens? Life happens. That baby becomes a toddler. Then that baby starts to get a little older. Then that baby starts to make his own decisions. And before you know it, the baby's a what? Teenager. Now, how many people see people walk around and say, here's a picture of my teenager? Very few. Okay? Not as many as say, this is my child, right? Because over a period of time, that child may have made some decisions that all of a sudden they're not going to be the doctor. They're not going to be the attorney. Now they're just going to hopefully be employed, right? Okay. And all of a sudden you kind of lost that, you still love them, but you kind of lost that luster, that optimism you had for them because of choices that were made. And if you're old enough, if you're as old as me, then there's several things that could happen. One, all of a sudden, eureka, the light could go on in their head and bang. They all of a sudden find their niche, their path, and they do well. Or they can have their first child. And how many people remember their first grandchild? That excitement comes right back. You're excited. Here's the baby again. But this time, I'm not going to make the mistakes I made with the mother or the father. Now I'm going to do this. So now all of a sudden, the grandparents doing what? Spoiling the baby. Hey, I'm going to get you this. I'm going to put you in that camp. This because you now see that potential again. Well, an opportunity like this allows us to do the same thing for our business. I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care what has occurred before. This is a new rebirth of your opportunities for your baby. Not just, which is your business, not just here, but just in St. Louis in general, there's a whole move now toward a rebirth for the opportunities for your babies. So in order to take full advantage of this, how many people believe that what you speak is what you have? The power of that. Okay, there we go. I got some believers here who believe that the power of what you say will happen. So I want to go through a couple of attitudinal things you want to say and get into your psyche so that you can be successful. The first one is this, and repeat after me. The best days of my life have yet to come. Let's say that together. The best days of my life have yet to come. Now, why is that so important? Because if you're not doing well right now, guess what? It's going to get better. If you're doing extremely well right now, guess what? It's going to get better. But by having that positive attitude, wherever you're at, you're always going to be going forth further with that goal of it's going to just get better from where I'm at. Once people get settled into where they're at and say, wow, this is it, complacency sets in, and often they lose their effectiveness. So I want you to always keep in mind that no matter how good it's going, no matter how bad it's going, the best days have yet to come for you and your business. Okay? The second thing I want to say is, get in our spirit is this. I may win, I may learn, but I never lose. You've got to develop a winning attitude where losing is not an option. You're either going to win or you're going to learn, okay? Now, I'm lucky I have a 7-year-old son, and he's about to start his second year of football. And I'm going to be his football coach for the first time. I'll be coaching for the first time. So if you click it through ESPN and you see me on the sidelines, that is Arthur coaching that 7-year-old team. But one of the things I've told the other coaches from the very beginning, because I just don't want my son to play football. I want him to get the experience of learning how to be a part of a team, but I also want him to get a winning attitude. I said, so from the very beginning, we're going to tell him, our record's not going to be 6 wins and 4 losses. Our record's going to be 6 wins and 4 learns, okay? So what did we learn? Maybe we learned that Johnny can't catch, or maybe we learned, that Jim is the one that should be the quarterback, okay? But we're going to learn something, because that's going to change their whole outlook of the way they look at life. Just think about that as a contractor. And I've seen it dealing with a lot of contractors. None of you are in the room, of course, but they've been on the project, they don't get it. So what do they say? I lost the contract. Okay, if you take that attitude, then you probably won't bid on the next one. Because again, we just talked about speaking things into existence. So now, in your mindset, you lost. And so you won't bid on the next one. You may even become the negative person, the dividing person, and start talking about how they weren't going to give it to you anyway, and it's never going to work anyway, blah, blah, blah. But let's say if you had the attitude of not losing, but learning. Then because you have such a great relationship with the people that you do business with, and because you're always constantly checking your performance and making sure that you're improving, you go back to that person and say, you know what, I noticed that I didn't get that bid. What was the concern? And they might tell you because they have a great relationship. That's why it's important to have relationships. They may say, you know what, we liked your price, we're just a little concerned about the delivery. Now, if you're in a learning mode, you don't get upset, you don't take that as a negative. You now go back, and with that self-evaluation, say, you know what, I've got to work on my delivery. You bid on the next project. Matter of fact, before you even bid on the next project, you call your relationship person and say, you know what, I've worked on that program, I've done some training, and our deliveries went from 5 days to 3 days. Because you've learned from that situation that didn't go your way. And you continue to bid, and you continue to learn. But again, let's say it one more time. I either win, or I learn, but I never lose. You never lose. If you get that attitude, you will continue to find yourself competing, going forward, and not being distracted by the situations. Now, before we end, I want to show a video, and this video I watch all the time. I actually got it from TED Talks, and it really motivates me as an entrepreneur. So I want you all to watch it, and when we finish, I'm going to give you your second challenge. What was your first challenge? To dream again, okay? Here's your second challenge. Let's watch this, and we'll come back with your second challenge. As you watch this, think back to when you first started your business. Let's say together, it still is. It still is. The same vision you had when you started your business, it still is. It can still happen. It may not have happened yet, but maybe this is the opportunity that's going to make it happen. So again, if you keep that spirit in your mind that it still is, then it still is. Now, our second challenge is, as we go into the networking part of this event, I want you to go outside of the box. I want you to really take advantage of the wealth of people that we have in this room. We've got entrepreneurs that have been here for years. We've got support services. I'm so glad to see them in the room as well. We have the Monsanto staff. Take this opportunity as part of this challenge to go out and meet somebody that you didn't know, okay? Meet somebody new. Start that relationship with Monsanto. Start that relationship with the support services. You know, go say, hey, I didn't know you had a veterans program. I'm a veteran. How can we be of benefit to each other? Here's a real challenge. Go to that person that's your competitor and go to them and say, you know what? Instead of competing against each other, how can we complete each other? How can we work together? How can we benefit? Because on a project this large, is there any one of us that can do it all? No. Think of the advantage of teaming. Think of the advantage of working with somebody. Think of the advantage of pooling your resources together, okay? So when you go to network, don't just exchange cards, but actually challenge yourself to meet somebody new and to start an effective business relationship. Now I want to end strong. So if everybody would stand up, let's all stand up. We want to end strong here. Now, in America, in our country, when something's been extremely good and you are extremely appreciative of it, how do we indicate that? With applause and a standing ovation. But it's not for me. I'm not worthy. No, it's not for me. But what I want you to do is this. I want you to look around at all the entrepreneurs in the room. These are the creators. These are the creative people. These are the game changers. These are the world changers. These are the people that are going to not only make this project successful, but make our society successful. So as you look around, I want us to give a thundering applause to the people, and we're on three, to the people that are around you, to yourself and the people that are around you on three. Now, this is what I want. I want this applause to be so loud. I want it to be so loud that we get kicked out of my... No, I want it to be so... that I never get invited back again. No. I want it to be so loud that a person in the furthest building in this campus stops what they're doing and says, what was that? What was that? Okay? So when these Monsanto people go back to their desk, they're going to say, man, what was all that noise? And you know what they're going to say? That was the sound of innovators. That was the sound of creative geniuses. That was the sound of game changers. That was the sound of world changers. That was the sound of entrepreneurs. Okay? So on three, we're going to break the Monsanto sound record. On three, I want you to give each other, not me, each other, a round of applause for all you've done so far and all you're going to continue to do to make our world a better place. So one, and again, we're entrepreneurs, so we're going to be very loud. 2, 3. Thank you. And thank the people. Thank the people around you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, this is my wife, so I'll hug with you. Thank you later. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Monsanto, for the opportunity. Thank you.